G'day, iRock from down under here. Today I'm casting a 3v3 on Arena. My teammates are Dream and Nuke once more, and I'm about to jump over the wall. I'm playing here as the Sicilians, and I'm attacking the Huns player. Meanwhile, my scout is inside the enemy base, just distracting a couple of enemy scouts while I make my first incursion. Now I kind of mucked up the quick walls, but these two enemy scouts were a bit distracted and I was able to quick wall, and in any case Sicilians build very fast. I did lose my scout, but then I killed two enemy scouts. And I'm building a castle here to set up my ram attack. And my first ram's coming in now, and I've opened the gate for Dream to come along with some cavalry. And here he comes now with his scout and a couple of cavalier. He's in Castle Age, but he's playing as Burgundians. And with this little force he can wreak havoc in the Hun base now that I have two castles. And I think the Hun player is just going to be devastated by this. Doesn't really know how to deal with this. He's got 3 cavalier in his base, and Dream is slaughtering everything. And he also has to try to deal with 2 castles and 3 rams. Yeah, the poor guy. But this castle will go down. Despite the repairs, the TC will go down. Dream is really giving him a hard time, as am I. And so we can see Lucas is trying to get a castle up in defense. Meanwhile, I'm coming in to take out his TC. As he's about to complete this castle, I decide to back off for a moment. Dream calls me back, and so I come along, build another castle, and start attacking his castle with my rams. And at that point he resigns. So it's now a 3v2. I'm just going to take some gold here and happily take out the rest of Lucas's base and turn it into my own base. Alright. Fast forwarding. People are starting to go up to Imperial now. Lucas is out of the game. I'm still stuck in Castle Age. Everyone else is on the way to Imperial or in Imperial, and I'm on the way to Imperial as well. But we can see that Nuke is under a lot of pressure. He's being attacked by the British player and also by the Persian player. So there's a massive 2v1 on against Nuke. I did not have very much military at the moment to support, and it's all up to Dream. Try to save Nuke at the moment. And Dream is just scrambling, trying to save his... So Nuke is trying to save his vills. He does have a vill out here, but he's got British longbows and Persian paladins running riot in his base, as well as some trebs and a mangonel. So Nuke is doing really well to just stay alive, basically. He's even being walled out of his base by a British villager. And he also has a British castle guarding the entrance to his base as well. So he's lost his base, but he is still alive. Let's see. He's got 6 vills. He does have quite a large population. Those must be military units. I come over to try to build a castle to help out. Fortunately, there was this enemy paladin here. I was able to wall out this massive force of Persian paladins, but did not get the rest of the quick walls down, and I had also to deal with these longbows, so I had to abandon this castle. Meanwhile, there's a huge fight going on between these paladins of Dream and the paladins of the Persian player, and longbows are just shooting at the moment unopposed. And there's a lot more Persian paladins than there are Burgundian paladins. But both paladins have full upgrades. One of these longbows will go down, and the paladin battle here is fairly even. So it looks like both forces are going to wipe each other out, basically. The reinforcements are coming in for the Persians, as well as for Dream, who does take out the enemy siege and does a really good job, but there are some longbows left and some Persian paladins. Meanwhile, I've built a forward castle outside of my second base, and I'm taking down this Persian castle here with some trebs. And we can see that the population for Nuke is largely elite skirms. It's a good idea because his opponent is the British player who has a lot of elite longbows. And Nuke is also making hand cannoneers. Meanwhile, I'm trying to push forward with some more castles, but now the Persian paladins come over to deal with this. Unfortunately, I'm going to lose my siege and I don't have murder holes, so I will lose these two castles, it would seem. But it's a good distraction. So while this is happening, castles go down, I'll have to delete this castle. And while there's a distraction, gives some time at least for Dream and Nuke. And there's a big fight going on here. And the Persian paladin come back to try to save their castles. And unfortunately the British have some helps on the field as well, but Nuke's got a lot of elite skirms that'll help. See how this fight goes here. Looks like Dream just won that fight, but he had to withdraw because of these few helps, but they get taken out by the hand cannoneers and skirms from Nuke. Meanwhile, I'm just mining the rest of these resources and slowly building up. Dream has produced a lot of helbs, and I'm now finally starting to produce as well. Put it onto my perspective as I will be the extra player in this, having taken out my guy, and I have to try to contribute and pull my weight, and if I can do that, we should win. Nuke is doing very well, building back up. Nuke has got a castle on the way, and Dream is massing Paladin once more. Let's fast forward. And there is a fight over here. This very massive army of Persian Trebs has just destroyed one of my castles and is withdrawing. Meanwhile, I'm sending some of my helbs over this way, and Dream's sending his paladins over here, and his helbs as well. So there's a big fight over here. And the paladins from Dream are coming back, whereas my Trebs are going over here to try to snipe this castle, I think. We'll see. So it's mostly a battle between the skirms and hand cannoneers of Nuke against these Helbs and British longbows. And the 13 Trebs now pushing forward again. A large force of Persian crossbows, and these Helbs of mine will have to run away. Battle between some paladins and some skirms, just a small fight. But yes, my Trebs did venture over this way and they will take out this Persian castle. And that should leave this very large force of 13 Trebs vulnerable to Dream's paladin. All that stands between them now is this force of Persian crossbows. It's very large, but Nuke's bombard and these paladins should be able to take care of it. And this is very poor from the Persian player. He's amassed one of the biggest forces of trebuchets you will see in a game, but he's just going to leave it there to get slaughtered by these paladin. He's frantically sending in cavalry, including a camel, to try to defend. And bringing in some Helbs, that will help. And Helbs are converging from a few different directions. So this is an important fight. Trebs are falling very quickly, and the Persian cavalry is either falling or retreating, and it looks like these Trebs are almost completely down. Meanwhile, there's another fight going on over here. We have some British Trebs. Looks like 7 of them. They're also going to fall to Dream's paladins. And Nuke is going to take out the castle, looks like, with a bombard cannon. So a couple of very good fights for us. Persians are attempting to set up a castle here, which looks like my Helbs could take down. And it looks like this castle is going to be taken out by skirms and a bombard cannon. And yes, it does fall, without the need for this capped ram. And Dream and Nuke are dominating and pushing back in the south. Got my pop up to 120, and it's not a bad sized force of Helbs. Looks like they're going to eventually take down this castle. Meanwhile, Dream and Nuke have moved on to this British castle, and they've even pushed the longbows back to this secondary British castle back here. This castle gets taken out once again by skirms and a bombard cannon, and Dream is going to try to attack that with Paladin. The Persians building more castles, pushing forwards. This castle could get denied, but it does go up. Meanwhile, I come along with my Trebs and take it down. There's a big force of British Helbs and longbows fighting against Nuke's force of skirms. And these paladin have to run away from the Persian Helbs. This castle will fall to my trebuchets. And massing Helbs once more. And looks like there's just too many Persian forces and British forces at the moment. And they should be able to deal with this force of paladin and skirm. Nuke has a lot of capped rams, which is a good idea against these longbows, but he also has to contend against the Persian melee forces. So now I'm bringing in my paladin, which should help. And this enables a push to be made against the longbows. But there's still a lot of British helps, and we just have to deal with a pretty good combination of enemy trash. And Dream's trying some hussars. My help numbers are being whittled down. And Nuke is sending in the capped rams to try to soak up some of this longbow fire and make a push against some of these production buildings. We have more British trebs. Meanwhile, the Persians are pushing in against my base. I've got a lot of crossbows and don't have an answer for that right now. Meanwhile, this accidental deletion of my wall right in the beginning of the game has left me with a hole in my base, which thankfully hasn't been seen yet. The trebuchets are fighting the skirms. Meanwhile, I have my own trebuchets. So they've taken out a castle and started to take out production buildings. And I'm going to try to use them also against the longbows. And the longbows have to back off from the trebuchets. Meanwhile, this small force of trebs is able to destroy my castles. But I'm focused down here destroying enemy castles and production centres. And Dream and Nuke protecting my trebuchets. My castle falls, but I have mined most of their resources up here in this base, so it's not the biggest deal. My trebuchets take out another castle. And I'm going to take out all these production buildings. And Dream is massacring this force of crossbows, but there's still a good amount of Persian forces up here. And the Persians are going to take out Dream's castle in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, my forces, my trebs are going over here to take out this castle. And the enemy is sending some troops in to kill my vills, which have mined the gold, and looks like they're going to just set up some farms. I have taken down the enemy castle, and now I'm trying to take out some production buildings so that Nuke can take back his base eventually. So Nuke's castle is under siege by Persian hussars. And my trebs are pushing forward once again, taking out another British castle. And production buildings fighting back against the longbows. I'm starting to make some skirms to contribute to this trash fight in the north. Meanwhile, taking out this British castle, so the British are quite vulnerable now. They don't have any castles. Persians have made a lot of castles throughout this game, and they've now set up a market and have begun trade. It's a very messy war of attrition, and unfortunately my gate was somehow opened and some hussars made it in. They will be dealt with, but this has enabled the other hussars to realize that they can get in through this gap which has been there the entire game. And now I have hussars in my base and they will do a lot of damage. And I'm being made aware of the fact. I have to send in some helps to deal with it. And unfortunately they do some damage to nuke as well, but we deal with it finally, and I will wall up once I realise that's where the problem is. And this messy trash battle continues in the north. And once we can stabilise, I've got dropped down to 24 vils, so I'll need some food to be sent to me so that I can start to rebuild my population quickly. Looks like we finally have the ascendancy over here in the north. There is a battle over here in the south again, where again we seem to have the numbers. The Persians have come back and dealt with that. I've decided to put a stop to this battle in the north with a couple castles, and my plan is to come over here and put a stop to this trade with a second castle. Just going to wall up this little fortress here, get ballistics, and try to shoot down all this trade. Now the Persians have seen the danger and they're sending everything to try to take out this castle. I've got murder holes, so you can see that a lot of Persian paladin and trash are dying. And then the Persian trade will go down if I can secure this position. So the castle is safe, ballistics are in, shooting down all the trade and walling it off as well. So the last of the trade is gone, and we re-secure this important position up here in the north, cutting off enemy trade. Now we are moving in against the British. I'm starting to get my pop up as well, so I should have some helps coming in. Here they come. And with these numbers, as they get in the fight, that should help to swing the balance in our favour. The Persians should be largely out of gold. Let's switch to their perspective. Fury, yes, has very little gold. Meanwhile, my helps continue to pour in. I'm starting to get my production up more than I have the rest of the game, and this should tip the balance in our favour now that I'm contributing with the full force of my pop. And Nuke has some trebs out. Just finishing off these production buildings. And Nuke Scrams are doing a lot of work against all of this cheap Persian trash and Persian crossbows. My helps are going to guard these trebs and help protect these forces that Nuke has. It looks like we're finally starting to push the enemy and defeat them. Dream is building castles to dominate the British. And both Dream and I are producing good numbers of helbs. Dream has castles on both Persian and British bases. And also Nuke is attacking with rams now. And as Dream begins to build another castle, I'm going to send my helbs over here. We'll get the numbers in this battle and push. And finally GG. Let's see. Dream killed almost 2,500, lost almost 2,000. My KD was about 500 to 600. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. I did get a good sized army out on the field eventually. Nuke had a very well balanced army, and he did well to recover from that 2v1. He raised 135 buildings, and whereas he only lost 69, so he did very well. Economy. Persian player killed it with food and wood. Nuke had the most stone and gold collected, surprisingly. He did well collecting from the middle of the map. And the Persians traded with a good amount of gold, but I put a stop to that. Technology time. Nuke made it first to Imperial, did very well to go fast Imperial. I got to Castle Age first, and I was able to destroy the blue player, Hun player. And Dream had 10 castles, 3 relics. Persian player had 157 villas, so not surprising he won the economy battle. And you can see the Persian player was probably the dominant player, but Dream had military strength superior to his and was able to counter him. Nuke did well to counter the British player. I took out the Hun player with little help from Dream early on, and towards the end I was able to get out some very big numbers of helbs, which helped to push our side into the most powerful position. Okay, so it was a good game. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.